All right, and welcome to the quarter-final matchup here on the beautiful Gold Coast at the Runaway Bay Complex. We've got Colony Plunder coming up against Newcastle I-Beam for a spot in the semi-finals. We're coming to you live. I'm Max Stenstrom on the Ultimate Australia coverage. I'll be keeping you company for the rest of the game as we see the first pull come down the field from Plunder. Picked up by I-Beam, immediately setting up in their horizontal stack. I-Beam probably coming into this game as a slight underdog, as Chris Hill shoots deep to Stoddard. A little bit too much juice. Got a slight breeze coming away from the camera and a little bit left to right. It's been the same breeze for the last 2 days, so the teams are probably pretty used to it by now. And it's more a case of being aware and adjusting rather than holstering a whole lot of throws. The big story coming into this game for Colony is the loss of Callan Spielman yesterday afternoon to an MCL injury. He's been a huge part of the Colony O-line, and unfortunately he's not only out for the rest of the tournament, but out for a couple of months at least. So we'll see how Colony respond to that loss of key personnel. Who's going to step up and fill that void? Will it be some veterans taking on a little bit more onto their plate? Or will it be young guys stepping up as we just see a huge play by Tim Hayes from I-Beam going horizontal at chest height. We see it again here. That's incredible defense on the end zone. And I-Beam with another chance. We've already seen a relatively scrappy first point. Both teams turning it over once. And Ryan Davey walking up. Forehand. Dallywater and Evans going up together. It appears maybe in a call. We have game advisors in this game, and they'll be able to assist with clarification of the rules and provide perspective when requested. But nothing that they say is binding, and it's up to the players to make the decision. Simon Wood, the near sideline game advisor, getting involved now. In the end, it's a contested foul. It's going to go back. I-Beam get another chance. I imagine they'll be wanting to throw to a bit more separation than that. Evans was hot on his heels. Davey swings to Lindsay Brown. I've been working out of a vertical stack, keeping it simple. Lindsay Brown keeps it alive as it flutters in the wind. And Davey reaches for Hayes in front of a bidding Revi. And that's bookends for Hayes after a huge layup block the other end in that upwind corner. That's Newcastle out of the blocks fast. Get a hold on their offense. If you want to get involved with the game, do chuck us a comment on the YouTube stream. Say hi, let us know what you think's going on. Send through your questions, we'll do our best to answer them. I do love to hear from the viewers. So you see the first line from Colony, Plunder here. First O-line, take the field. Looks like Oscar Francis has got the big task of stepping up into the shoes of Spielman. We'll see how he goes. Spielman's played such a crucial role on this line, both as a big deep threat and then providing an outlet underneath when they've needed it. Thomas to Neil. Thomas yesterday taking a lot of the deep shots for this Colony line. Very strong thrower and plenty of length, allowing him to get round a lot of the marks. And here we see him go forehand side to Francis for the goal. So far, Francis looking like he's up to the task of filling Spielman's shoes. Coming into this tournament, I think a lot of people maybe underestimated I-Beam a little bit and may not have had them chalked in as a quarterfinals team, but they've shown their class to get here, beating a number of teams to take third spot in their pool. G'day, how you going? Very similar D-line from Colony to their opening point. I-Beam operating out of their horizontal. Finds Stoddard to Hill. Stoddard, the lefty forehand to Lindsay Brown, who shoots deep to Dallywater, who reads it like a pro. Evans went up really early, maybe a slight misread, and Dallywater tears it down. It's a great read by the relative youngster. So we see it again. It's a nice forehand. Evans does a good job to get there, but maybe doesn't have position quite as well as Dallywater does. And that's 2-1 to I-Beam. It's a beautiful day today here on the Gold Coast. It's probably 24, 25 degrees. Few clouds in the sky, but Still nice and sunny. We've got a light breeze coming left to right. It's just beautiful ultimate conditions. Colony choosing to use a side stack, opening up a big lane for their speedy cutters as we see Petrov head to the end zone and go horizontal, but Thomas gets it a little too far and the wind makes it difficult to get much touch on those throws. That side stack structure, very common across the men's division. Most teams have it in their tool bag. It's just so effective at giving one cutter a lot of space to work in. Now Dowdle reaching deep. Shooting towards a contest. Francis and Latamatos were there, and the I-beam player didn't have much separation from them. Maybe not the best decision to throw to such a tight contest, and it results in a turnover. I-beam have been successful throwing deep quite a lot, but it's about picking the cuts and the moments to take advantage of it. Immediate miscue, and then a cold drop by Petrov. We'll give it straight back to I-beam, and Booth picks up, hoping to calm it down a little bit. And Thomas replies with a good poach, reading the play nicely, predicting what's going to happen before it has happened. Neild and Thomas cutting under there, one down the open, one down the break side. They're similar players in a lot of ways. Tall, stringy, lots of length, strong throws, and aerial threats. But they both play very different roles for this Colony team. Thomas often taking the shots, as we see there, and Neild often playing the role of the receiver. Fortunately, that time they can't connect, and that's a second wet throwaway by Thomas at this point. As we see it again. High release backhand. Neild looked a tad surprised by the throw. And normally I would have had faith in him to get there, but caught a little unawares. I-beam now show that they can play a side stack too, putting Dowdle out into the lane, but he's not able to find an opening. Booth goes to Dowdle on the sideline. Booth. Sinclair with the disc. It's about 8 meters out. Goes to Dowdle, who's right on the doorstep now. Scuba Steve, they call him. Booth with the disc. Back to Booth. I've been playing patient, showing their composure. Booth! Boost to hammer. That's nicely done. And I-beam are rewarded. And that's a break for I-beam, as we see it again. Booth, obviously a veteran, got some really strong throws. He's known sometimes to be a little too aggressive and really fixate on the end zone, but throws it beautifully in that situation. Nice hammer over the top, onto the break side. And Newcastle race out to a 3-1 lead. Colony O-line has brought Evans across to replace Francis. An immediate short field turnover. This is another opportunity for Newcastle to extend the lead. Pressure starting to mount for Plunder. Davey picks up the disc. Very strong throw, and he'll bring it in. Look to I-beam. Da Silva just turns on the burners, beats his man to the sideline. Nothing fancy about that, but it works beautifully. And I-beam have raced out to a 4-1 lead. Can't imagine there were many people before this game that would have predicted that. We see it again. Little jig towards the break side by Da Silva. Gets his defender Hodgson turning his hips. And then great quickness to get to the open side. Plunder perhaps feeling the absence of Spielman a little bit. Gonna have to find a way to share that load around and get an answer to this I-beam defense. So far it feels like Plunder's just been forcing a few throws to options that maybe weren't quite there, or the cutter wasn't quite aware that they were coming. And they'll have to tighten it up a little bit, bring the focus back in to find some more success. Evans staying on this offensive line now as Francis makes space for him on the sideline. Evans wearing a single glove, doing his best Michael Jackson impersonation. And Tim Booth set to pull. Colony going back to their horizontal stack. Petrov gets an easy under. Finds Neald in the center. To Thomas. He's had a couple of throwaways. Let's see if he can hold on to this one. Oof. Makes it hard for Neald, but Neald's up to the task. To Latimatos, who has Booth right up his back. Latimatos finds Evans in the end zone. It's nicely done by Plunder to steady the ship, which they needed to do. See again, they take very conservative options all the way up the field before Latimatos finds Evans. Interesting mix-up on the lines here from Colony. Evans back to his standard D line, bringing across Hodgson and Latimatos with him. They'll be looking to get the break. And they're bringing across the personnel to get it done. Well, Latimatos plays offense predominantly for Plunder. He has, for a long time, plied his trade as a defensive handler and handler defender, including for the Dingoes, so very strong defensive presence. Sutaz right on Davey. That's a good matchup to watch. Davey reaching for Dallywater. Can he get there? Got Goes horizontal. Gets two hands underneath it. He's right on the doorstep now. He's looking for Davey. And it looks like there was a call. Got very cramped in there for a moment. And now it looks like Tran will tie his shoelace. All right, we're very lucky to have Phil Shields join us in the commentary box. His expert analysis. He's obviously been around the game for a long time, knows what he's talking about. What are your thoughts on the first few points, Phil?
Look, it's been exciting to watch a couple of great grabs and layouts. Both teams are bringing the intensity that we'd expect at a quarterfinals at the Australian Ultimate Championships. Let's just see how far each team can push themselves. It'll really come down to playing a full 100 minutes at this intensity, and that's going to be a tough ask for both teams.
Yeah, that was a nice goal there from Stoddard to Hill. Just quick movement, allowing them to get open in that open side end zone. And that'll make it 5-2 to Newcastle. They've come out of the gates really quickly here, Newcastle, and so far it doesn't feel like Colony's got an answer.
No, it doesn't really. I mean, yeah, Newcastle will really relish that 3-point lead that they've got at the moment. And, you know, looking at the Colony side at the moment, I find it hard to see them bringing that back anytime soon. But as always, anything is possible in Ultimate.
Yeah, I think coming into this game, as I said earlier, Colony definitely would have been the fan favourite and would have been the pick to take the game, but IBM showing us that we shouldn't underestimate them. Coming out of the gates very strong. Tim Booth set to pull. Picked up by Evans with his throwing glove on to Thomas. Thomas has been taking a lot of the deep shots to Petrov. Petrov reaches for Evans, but too far.
Just the way that disc was picked up very casually off the pole, I think just shows where Plunder is at the moment. I really would have liked to have seen that picked up a bit more quicker. I know it's a little thing, but it's those little things that count really at this level. It's the little 1%ers that bring it all to make the 10% difference.
Yeah, and probably also reflective of the mental state they're in. Maybe a little too casual, do you think?
Absolutely.
Well, as we see Davey get in a power position, he loves to look deep, but chooses not to there. And Petrov goes horizontal over the shoulder of Booth. So judging by everyone's reaction, foul call.
Yeah, that's the sort of stuff that Colony really need to lift them. Individual efforts that get the turns.
Yeah, and it will come back an uncontested foul, but even so, it's inspiring to see your teammates, you know, putting their bodies on the line, going 105%. I-beam being very patient, but maybe struggling to generate downfield options. Big shot reaching for Booth. Can he get there? A little bit out in front. Can't wind back the years enough.
It was the right shot to take, right option. He'd burned his player deep. Just didn't quite sit for him in this wind, pushing it down just at the end there. But that's the intensity that I-beam are really going to bring, I think, for the next, at least for this half. You can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like maybe a little bit too intense to Booth. He's caught an injury. May have landed awkwardly as he laid out there. And he's going to come off, and Stoddard will take his place. And Stoddard now has the difficult task of marking up on Petrov, a real speedster. As we've seen before, lays out huge. Thomas comes underneath. Mitchell with the disc, struggling to find something he likes, and he goes for Neiled. But that's a great block. And I-beam on the end zone, unfortunately not able to complete.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate, really unforced error overall. But looking at the defense that Newcastle put on then, they are sticking with their men. And in contrast, before that, looking at Colony, they were letting their men get about 4 or 5 metres on them, giving them the easy unders all the way, but I-beam not letting up on their defence at all, really making it hard for Colony to make anything out of their offence.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Gray doing a great job getting that turn, but Newcastle not able to convert. Neil to the disc, finds Francis up the far sideline. To Neil. Neil reaches. He's got Mitchell there. And a nice two-handed clap catch on the chest. That's a nice shot by Mike Neil, just as the wind picks up as well.
And he gives a bit of a celebration there at the end there as well. He wants his team to lift. He wants everyone to lift out of that one.
Yeah, Neil, often quite a fiery player, can really rile the team up when he wants. And I think they need that right now, a bit of an emotional lift to bring the intensity a bit more. And that'll take it to 5-3. Colony bringing back the deficit, but they've still got plenty of work to do. You see here another interesting looking D-line out there for Colony. This is mostly offensive players coming across. Particularly Hodgson and Latamatos have done plenty of work on the O-lines. Big pull. Picked up by John Greenfield. Set it to Hill. Hayes going deep. And Colony playing an interesting containment look here, but now they've found and they go into match. Stoddard takes Lindsey Brown. Lindsey Brown waggles his finger at Davey saying come under, and then he hits him. Nice inside flick to break the mark to Stoddard. Ooh, miscommunication perhaps. And Stoddard just throws it out the sideline. Really, no one there.
Yeah, Brown working really hard on that point to get free, and also making a couple of nice inside flicks as well to free players as well. And that's the difference that I see on the ground between these two teams at the moment. There he goes again. Brown's going deep. No one's going with him. They're just letting him go, have free reign.
Now Colony with the disc. Find Latamatos. He shoots. Lindsey Brown able to get it as the throw falls short. As you say, Phil, he's been working really hard. As we see that again. And Davey immediately shoots to Stoddard. Stoddard has the height advantage and he makes good use of it. Now Dallywater and McDonald isolated in the end zone, but Stoddard looks back. Gets it to Hayes, who was tightly marked by Sutas, and he jams it into Stoddard. Colony Plunder not yet able to find as much as they'd like. They're able to get some turns, but they haven't been able to convert them. We saw Latimardos' shot at that point affected by the wind and fall short of where he would have liked it. And now Colony offense need to just score this one nice and quickly and get defense back out there. This live stream is brought to you by Ultimate Australia, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, do leave us a comment on the live stream. Say hi, let us know where you're watching from, or your thoughts or questions on the game. We'll do our best to answer them all. As Tim Booth sends down the pool, fielded by Hodgson, goes to Thomas. He's got Neeld, and he goes to him. A long way out in front. Neeld lays out. But not able to wrap his hands around it. He got very close. Neeld's a very experienced receiver, as we see it again. Using every inch of his long frame to get there. But perhaps just centimetres too far. We've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again. Throws in that direction in this wind are always going to be very difficult. And Thomas there not able to get enough touch on it. Dowdle back to Booth. He's got De Silva for the swing, but chooses not to take it. Goes upfield to Gray. Gray back to Dowdle. Reaching around for De Silva. Goes to Turf. And Evans will pick up. Thomas, he's got Petrov. Foot block by Dowdle.
That was an unfortunate turn by Ibean. De Silva made a nice hard cut under, and just as it was being thrown, he turned. That's why that didn't connect there. So I've been lucky to get the disc back in one sense, but hard work off the mark there is on the mark on that point as well to force the turn.
Yeah, he didn't get much of it on the foot, but just enough to push it out of bounds. And Ibean bringing it back in. We'll look to move it off this sideline. And unfortunately, the disc too far out in front of Booth.
Booth just going to ground, slipping, I feel.
De Silva on the mark against Evans. He's got a big task. Evans a very strong thrower, capable of breaking. Neeld. Petrov. Petrov has Francis just outside now. And a nice little throw to Thomas, who cuts hard to the break side and jinks back to the open. And Colony get one.
Colony just doing enough at the moment to stay in touch. I'd like to see them, again, as I said before, just to put the floor to the metal a little bit more intensity. But at this point in time, being down by 2 isn't such a big thing, but no team wants to be down at any point in time.
Especially not in a quarterfinal with a ticket to the semis on the line. Big shout out to our audience in New Zealand. Hope you've been enjoying the live stream coverage brought to you by Ultimate Australia here from Runaway Bay. The Wildcats from Wellington currently playing in their lower bracket games. They unfortunately got knocked out. Excuse me. They've made it into the quarters and they're currently playing on the far field that isn't being streamed at the moment. The Ch-Ch Chicks unfortunately didn't make it through. Ladamados now set to pull. And Davey will field it to Stoddard. To Greenfield. Hill with the disc. Takes a nice grab through traffic. To Davey. Ladamados doing a great job to read the play there, showing his experience. And Sutas takes a frisbee to the head by the look of it. Not able to hold on through the hands and into the noggin. And it goes to ground. Some people say he's quite a thoughtful player and he really uses his head, but may have used it a little bit too much that time. Greenfield with the disc. Veteran of many nationals. Lindsay Brown to Davey. Just a few metres out now. There's an opportunity for I-Beam, and he finds Dallywater with the break forehand. And they extend the lead. 7-4. 1 point away from half here for I-Beam. Showing that it wasn't just a quick start, but they're really here to play. And I-Beam have called a timeout. Probably looking to grab a breath. Rest some of those weary legs that have been running really hard out there. And get ready for an opportunity to break into half-time. The call coming from the Colony players as they bring it into huddle was there's still lots of ultimate to be played. This is a long game. And I think that's the right mindset to have. What do you think their focus will be here going forward, Phil?
Yeah, they really need to tighten up on their defence, I feel. It's really way too loose at the moment. They're not putting any pressure on Newcastle. If they do that, they then have those layered opportunities that Newcastle are giving themselves. So that will also help inspiration throughout the team. So just tighten up on defence would be my primary focus for Colony at this point in time. And it's always interesting to see in these huddles the difference between the two teams. Colony behind, tight huddle. Obviously, there's intense talk going on. Newcastle, a bit freer, a bit more relaxed. They've got that 2 to 3 point lead, which they're maintaining. And just quite simple in and a break. Being relaxed in these finals goes a long way. You don't want to be too intense. That can force unnecessary turnovers.
Yeah, body language is often a really good indicator, I find, of what's going through the team's heads and even how they're going to continue to play for the rest of the game. The
intensity has to come through the legs, through the body language, not through the mind, or through the mind in a sense, but not overthinking things was my point.
And I guess we'll see now where the Colony can keep it simple, go back to basics and get it right. Interesting choice by them here. They've really changed up the lines that have been playing O&D for the whole tournament and for the whole season, really. And they've got Evans playing a lot more offense and Ladamados going over the defense line. This is an interesting choice, especially as we're saying now that maybe they need to get the little things right. Every bit of chemistry is really important. That coupled with the absence of Spielman maybe having an effect. As the big pull will sail out of bounds, pushed out of field by the wind. I'm not sure if you could see that on the stream, but John Greenfield taking a very nice behind the back catch on that pull. Evans will walk it up. Colony in a split stack. Neeld looking like he'll be the one to make the first move, and he does. Immediately looking deep, and Evans reaches. And despite the cry from the sideline that he's not tall enough, it turns out Mike Neeld definitely is tall enough. So he climbs the ladder, tears one down, and he's pumped up about that one.
And that Neeld connection is really going to be crucial for this Colony team. They've used him a few times, a couple of times just out of reach, laying out for one which he didn't quite reel in. I felt if he was able to reel that one in, that would have lifted the Colony team as well, but that didn't happen. So that's going to be a real crucial thing for Colony at the moment, to make good use of him and for him to bring inspiration to the team. Conversely, obviously, if Newcastle can shut that Neeld connection down, they'll stay on top, I feel.
Yeah, tend to agree, but it's not an easy task. Neeld's obviously very experienced, very good player. Just having a quick look at the stat sheet. That was Colony's 5th goal by their 5th unique goal scorer and 5th unique goal thrower. So a lot of players sharing around the work, which is good to see, not relying too heavily on one or two players to score and throw all their goals. Neild's got one, Francis has scored one, Mitchell's got one, Evans has got one, and Thomas has got one. So they've been sharing around the workload, and that will be key for them to continue their success. As Evans pulls. Hill to collect. Greenfield. Good hands, holds on. Dallywater on the far side. Greenfield working hard to get open, and he does. Finds Stoddard. The wind's starting to pick up a little bit. And looks like a foul on the catch. Attempt by Davey. Sutas was right there putting on a lot of defensive pressure and may have had a bit of contact. Latamados is providing his perspective. As we see Greenfield walk over to get involved as well. See it again. May have been a little bit of contact. And now Simon Wood walking over to get involved. Seen a lot of frisbee in his days. Gives his helping hand. Looks like it'll go back. Contested foul. So it'll come in stalling 5. Stoddard will have to look to move it relatively quickly. And he does find Davey. Hill in front of a bidding Tran. Hill shoots deep for Stoddard, who's got plenty of separation on Neeld. And that's a lovely throw. Hit Stoddard in stride on his chest.
Yeah, that was a lovely bid on that D by Colony. Unfortunately, he didn't get that. Left man with the disc wide open, no mark on, all the time in the world just to put the disc into space for the runner deep into the end zone.
And an interesting contrast by I-Beam as they take half here. Unlike Colony, they've been maybe relying on a smaller group of players to get the bulk of the work done. Stoddard, Hill, Davey particularly being involved in a lot of the scores and assists so far. Obviously, when it comes to quarterfinal time, the cream rises to the top, and you can see who your team's big time players are as they step up to get the job done. We'll take a quick break at halftime. We'll be back for the second half as Newcastle I-Beam take on Colony Plunder. Yeah, it's a little bit more like slow them down. All right, and welcome back to the second half. Newcastle I-Beam, Colony Plunder. Newcastle came out very strong. They're up 8-5. We'll see how Colony can respond. I think I'll be brutal and say no one expected Newcastle to take half this strong, and they have. So, game full of surprises, but that's why we love Nationals.
Yeah, I was able just to hear a couple of things from the halftime huddles, and just interesting to note the differences between the two teams. straight away Newcastle into the huddle. Their leadership group talking about the differences or what they need to do on O and D. And Colony, in contrast, 2 minutes just pretty much just chatting, having fun before they started talking about their tactics. And in fact, when they did finally get into their tactics, it's really about just letting their players know that this is the only half that counts. If they don't win this half, then they don't have anything after it, so nothing else matters for them. But no discussion at all on what they need to do in order to get that. So Colony relying solely on intensity, I-beam looking at tactics.
Thanks for that, Phil. And we see Mark Evans immediately shooting to Mike Neild. And there you go. That's that connection you were talking about earlier, Phil. Paying dividends right now, and clearly they go to it when they need a goal.
Absolutely. And Newcastle need to recognise that straight away and just shut him down, and they will shut down the whole Colony offence.
Yeah. Well, that was a great way to come out of half for Colony. But now the real work starts for them. Their defensive line has to get some blocks.
Yeah, look out for Newcastle. I think they'll work their hard outs and their hard ins to get big yardage on those ins.
We've also seen Newcastle very willing to look deep and throw the long shot. So we'll see how Colony looks to contain them this half. They didn't have a very good answer in the first half on how to slow them down. At half-time, a suggestion thrown around the peanut gallery on the sideline was put down a zone, a containment zone, something like a 3-2-2. Puts a bit more pressure on that deep and looks to slow down the Newcastle offense. But we'll see what Colony choose to do. A bladey backhand from Evans. Straight out the sideline. Rolling most of the way to Brisbane by the look of it. Big shout out to Angela and Daryl on the stream. They're getting fired up, urging Plunder on. It'll be a pretty great comeback if they can make it happen. And clearly Plunder's been listening. Looks like they're going to play a bit of a zone. Big M. Hodgson on the mark. His big wingspan going to put a lot of pressure on throws. Greenfield showing he's not afraid of the wind. Immediately goes over the top, but Sutas reads the play, gets in front of Davey and gets a nice intercept. And Evans, a simple drop.
If they can move it before it gets set, they've got a chance of breaking out of this zone.
Davey goes over the top to Dallywater. Dallywater, easy flip to Hayes. I-beam very comfortable against that zone, showing the depth and strength of their throws, willing to throw hammers over the top in both directions, into and against the wind. Very impressive set of skills. Having said that, they were able to get the turn. Sutas able to generate that off a good read within the cup. And then a really cheap turnover by Evans, which Colony will be disappointed about. He's one of their leadership players, one of the more experienced players on this team with a wealth of world's experience. It's really disheartening when you see one of your top players making simple errors in these situations.
It is, and Siddis did all the work to get that, and that you could hear the Colony team, like they were just fired up at that, and it was a fantastic read. The way he ran into that long before the throw was made, he saw the telegraph throw, came in, got the hard D, did all the hard yards. They burnt deep, simple turnover, and you just saw the way Colony were coming back. They didn't have the hustle to get that zone on. They felt a bit disheartened because of that simple fumble. So Colony really need to take their opportunities when they can.
Tim Booth with the pull. And I-Beam respond with a zone look of their own, a bit of an arrowhead. They've got Gray and Dowdle hanging deep, but now it looks like they're transitioning into a match defense. And Francis works his legs hard to get open underneath. And Neild. Little squirrely cut, gets it again. Petrov, nice little throw there. Finds Neild.
There's Neild again, popping into the picture.
Yeah, stepping up when his team needs him. He really is a big moment player. That's his third goal. To go with an assist from the first half. So you see it again there. Neild getting a lot of the disc that point, working it up that sideline. And I-Beam yet to find an answer for Neild. Haven't got a matchup that works well against him. They chose to go zone initially that point, and it slowed down the initial huck, but once they transitioned, Colony was off to the races up that downwind sideline.
The sideline here on this field is actually quite quiet. It's sort of an indication, I think, of the mindset that these teams are going to. The other quarters which is going on behind us, Chile versus Mammoth, very vocal. The intensity on both sides is just there, but it's not happening with either of these teams. Quite contrast in styles.
Yeah, perhaps indicative of a different style of game and play from both teams. As Greenfield fields the pull, finds Lindsay Brown. And Colony just playing in this zone look again. And Newcastle immediately go to the overheads, having trust in their very strong throwers to just go over the wall. And Davey making Greenfield work for it. Greenfield up to the task. Diving grab, keeps it alive. And then Hill. Hill, another strong thrower, not afraid of the wind in any way. Finds Davey. Davey, cheeky over the top backhand, finds Dallywater. They're about 8 metres out. As the clamps down, Dallywater working hard, gets the dump to Greenfield. He'll send it to Stoddard. Back to Greenfield. Greenfield, outside in forehand, does a nice job of getting the disc to the near sideline. And Davey, scuba over the top, finds Lindsay Brown. Sneaks it through the hole between a bidding Sutaz and a lunging Latamatos. Finds Stoddard.
Yeah, that's excellent work by Davey there. Just a few easy ones over the top. A very tall containment cup that was put on. Very tall mark, tall hands, but Davey just showing with ease the skills that he has in that handler position. Settle everything down, make good decisions, keep the disc moving, keep Colony frustrated. Well done.
And that's 10-7 to Newcastle. Colony will need to get some defensive points on the board, some breaks on the board pretty soon, or this lead will become a bit unassailable. Evans raises his hand, the signal is ready, and Booth will send the pull down for Newcastle. Booth, the big outside in. As Mitchell picks up, I-Beam has gone back to the single coverage match defense. And they see Booth poaching off and immediately hit the player Booth and Sinclair, lots of contact. Evans and Booth discussing what happened as we see it again here. Booth trying to get to his man. Sinclair gets in the way. Looks like they'll have a chat about it and bring it back in. Thomas immediately hustling long, but Neil doesn't like the look of it. Instead, goes out in front to Hodgson. Hodgson got a big height mismatch. Let's see if he takes advantage of that, but he just turfs it in a simple one to Neil. Those simple errors have really hurt Colony this game. Definitely what you'd call uncharacteristic mistakes from the team of their polish and caliber. And I-Beam get the disc and immediately call a timeout as they sense the importance of this point.
Yeah, simple unforced error there from Colony. A cheap turn. I-Beam sensibly picked up the disc and saw that nothing was happening, wanting to make a statement here, because if they can send this one in, they'll get a 4-point lead, and that will be virtually unstoppable going for the rest of this half, I feel.
I-Beam choosing this timeout to sing a bit of Daryl Braithwaite. A real classic, Horses. Now look, they've clearly shown today that they're an ultimate frisbee powerhouse with plenty of disc skills, but I'm not so sure about their singing skills. Bring it back in. Davey's got the disc. Offense will set first, and then defense will set up as they wish.
See them setting up in a short hoe formation, giving themselves plenty of room to run deep.
We've got Dowdle and Silver in the middle. Expect them to generate here. Booth and Sinclair.
Not surprisingly, all the Colony players just standing deeper of their men.
Neil giving himself a nice big buffer, probably going to help out anyone that cuts deep. See if they can take advantage of that. Can't find the poached player. Go to Davey instead. Petrov bids, but a lot of contact. Really backpacking Davey as he cuts for that disc. Don't think there'll be any disagreement there, but to be honest, a bit of an unnecessary play by Petrov. Davey gets it to Sinclair. To Dowdle. Colony clearly fired up on defense, running really hard. To Silver, to Booth. Booth fakes the big. Hits Davey. Petrov hot on his tail again. Bump and grind on the mark. Booth. Big swing. Looks like we had a call, maybe a pass or two ago. Looks like Sinclair and Hodgson will have a chat, sort it out. Looks like they're pretty happy. And didn't look like it had any effect on the play, so it'll stay where it is. Francis will tap it back in. Davey provides the outlet. Silver comes under, but Davey not interested. Instead throws to Scuba Steve Dowdle. Dowdle to Booth, a nice one-handed grab. Davey back to Booth, and we've got an upfield moment. An upfield stoppage, sorry. Stack's quite deep. They'll look to shorten it up here if they can. IBeam showing a lot of patience. They know this will be another break and really gives them what may end up being an unassailable lead coming into the business end of this game. Davey, Booth, contact, no call, they'll play through it. Davey obviously a very tough player. Sinclair has Dowdle in the front corner. And IBeam, 11-7.
Yeah, excellent patience by IBeam on that point. They showed that they knew what was on the line here. That 4-point lead I was talking about, timeout being called by Colony, not surprisingly, because they feel the game slipping away as well. Interestingly enough, Neil just sort of like hanging off the back there, trying to poach deep, and the experienced Newcastle handler seeing that, not putting anything anywhere near him.
Yeah, it's a great adjustment, and it's not always that easy to do on the fly. But IBeam able to do just that, adjust their play style, react to what the defense was giving them, which was lots of unders. And they were happy to dump and swing and hit those unders when they opened up before finding Dowdle wide open in the end zone. That was stellar play by IBeam. And the Colony O-line gets broken again. Colony only now bring it in. Looks like they don't have a whole lot to say.
Colony look like a tired team as they walk onto the field. I believe they've just come out of some hard games as well, straight off today, but also yesterday. And they're looking like it. They're looking like they don't have the legs at this point in time.
Plunder trying to fire themselves up again. They do need to find another gear of intensity here. Solid offense isn't going to be enough. They need to get breaks. Got Latimardos out there, Evans, Petrov, Thomas, Francis, Mitchell, and Neild. I'd expect Neild to look to make this a quick one again. The last couple of points that he's been on, he's just hustled straight to the end zone. And we've seen how deadly that connection can be. It's great to see on the IBeam line this using their whole roster still, not shortening up because it's a quarterfinal, having faith in every player and running really hard, tiring out the opposition. Chris Hill with the pull. It's flat, and it's a roller. Centers to Evans. Neild hustles deep, but Evans chooses not to take it. Didn't like the option. Latimardos with the disc. Neild working really hard to give options to his handlers, and there's not a lot else happening upfield. Got a big contact between Evans and Gray. We'll get a pick call. I'd like to see Thomas inject himself a bit more into this play. As Neild goes deep to Petrov. Hill's there. Bit of a misread by multiple people. So that's an interesting call here. Hill fell over and definitely impeded Petrov, but Petrov was a good few meters away from the disc at the time. So we see it again here. Hill stumbling, and IBeam got that block regardless. Looks like retracts any call that he made and the play will continue. I think that's the right call to make, but I do understand how difficult that one can feel for Petrov.
Yeah, Petrov showing good spirit there, understanding what actually happened, and not making the call or retracting the one that he did make.
And that's another turn from the Colony O-line. They've had a few of those this game. A few too many. Hill finds Gray underneath. Gray working it up nicely. Lindsay Brown working hard to get open as the dump. Gets it back to Hill. Not liking a lot of what he sees. Finds Gray again. Comes to the near side to find Stoddard. That lefty forehand. Colony looking tired, but Latamatos dives and Lindsay Brown ends up on top of him. And it's a clean block. Latamatos stepping up when his team needed him to get the disc back, but the work doesn't end here for Colony. As Evan picks up, Latamatos hustles deep, and Evans launches. And he got a full hand on that, and then some contact by Lindsay Brown. It may be a foul call. From this perspective, it looked like the bump by Lindsay Brown may have caused him to lose control, but we'll see it again here. Have a bit of discussion. Not contested. It's going to stay with Latamatos. I think that's the right call. And Francis right there. A couple of options here for Latamatos. Immediately look to the dump or hope to isolate Francis in the end zone. Latamatos probably the stronger thrower of the two. May want to do the throwing himself and let Francis do the running. Instead goes to Petrov. Latamatos. Evans trying to get open in the dump space, gets there. Immediate give go with Latamatos. Evans looking for the end zone, not there. Petrov finds Evans. Little push pass to Petrov. Good patience on that end zone line, and Colony managed to get one. But it doesn't feel easy. Feels like they're really having to grind for every point and every pass. I-Beam doing a great job of putting a lot of pressure as Colony look fatigued. All right, Colony on defense this point. What do they need to do, Phil? How can they slow down this I-Beam offense?
I'm not too sure they can slow the I-Beam offense or defense down much. They just have to work harder for it. That's what they have to do. They have to lift their own game. Get into it with intensity. Run themselves ragged. And also run I-Beam into the ground.
It's going to be a big task because they've got a lot of the same faces out there again. Do you think this is a good idea? Keep putting your stars on the line every time, or do you want to give them a rest, go through your full roster and try and get fresh legs?
Well, obviously they've thought about this, and they feel that this is the best thing for them to do at this point in time, put their star line on. For me, it sends a bit of a message to the rest of the team as well, and maybe not a great message either, that they don't trust their full roster completely. I'd like to see them rotate it in, get those legs, the fresher legs, onto the ground, give them a chance to be stars in their own right, and get the momentum for the whole team.
Evans with the big outside in floaty pull, but too far. Went out about on the halfway mark. We'll see if they take it from the sideline or the brick mark. And it looks like it'll be a brick. Greenfield will retrieve it. Still got plenty of frisbee to go in this game. By no means are Colony going to roll over. But the momentum definitely with I-Beam at this stage. Colony going back to single coverage match defense, saying we're just going to work hard, taking Phil's advice. Stoddard straight across the face. Gets it nicely. Kneeled right on his hip the whole way. Davey does a good job to keep that in. Finds Lindsay Brown. I've been moving nicely up the field. Pick call, but unsure if it affected the play. It'll stay with Lindsay Brown. Violation call. Hodgson not happy with how quick Greenfield was off the mark there. Probably not something Greenfield hears a lot at his advanced age. And Lindsay Brown taps it back in again. And we've got another one. Third time lucky on the tap in, hopefully. People can not jump the gun. Obviously everyone getting a little bit antsy. Lindsay Brown looks for Davey. Gets it to him. Nice swing to Greenfield. Davey to Lindsay Brown. Got a foul at the front of the stack. May not have had any effect on that dump pass though. Uncontested foul, downfield. Nope. Not sure who was calling it on who. It's between Stoddard and Neal. Maybe just a little bit too much arm in the chest. It's the two. Stoddard called it, so this will come in on 0. Stoddard immediately goes break side, but Lado does a good job of stopping the throw. So I've got another violation. Team's getting chippy, struggling to get the check-ins right. Very eager to keep playing. Stoddard, great little move to get open. And it's tipped. And then cleaned up by Hayes. Wow. Great effort by Hodgson to get there. It wasn't his man. Neal had actually been beaten there by Stoddard. We see it again. Stoddard, nice move to the break side. Beats Neal. Comes hard. Hodgson, great job. Gets it to Stoddard, and then Stoddard the quick flip to Hayes. 12-8.
Yeah, the whole I-beam sideline getting involved in letting Colony know that that was a score, and you can feel the difference between the two teams here on the sideline.
Colony O-line back on the field. Newcastle I-beam has done a great job at slowing them down, getting the disc off in this game. We'll see if they can continue this good work. Got a 4-point buffer, which is nice, but you can't go to sleep against Colony. They will punish you, and they'll try and keep this intensity high for the rest of the game. And stay firing as Davey launches. Evans with the disc, immediately to Neal. Latamatos in the center of the field, just on halfway. Evans straight across the front, gets it. Thomas comes back into the dog space, but doesn't want it. Booth face down on the ground, not getting up, but looks fine, just having a chat while he's down there. We see it again. Slight bit of contact as Latamatos rounded the corner, but unsure what will happen. Latamatos goes round to Evans. Goes back to Latamatos. Francis hustling deep. He's got some separation. Latamatos wants Evans instead. It now reaches for Neeld. Goes over the top of half a dozen players. And Mitchell gets the job done in an emphatic spike. Happy with that. You see there that Evans, Latamatos and Neeld very reluctant to look at anyone else but each other. There are a few options there for the Colony O-line to maybe make some meters that they didn't take. Instead putting a huge amount of faith and reliance on their veterans, on the big names on that line. Generally, I'm a fan of going to your big names in the big moments and relying on them to get the job done, but I think you have to hit the open shots when they're there, and there were a few.
A lot of pressure on their stars, point after point after point, and we're still a minimum of 3 points away, and they've been using the same lineup for about the last 4 or 5 points.
And that fatigue's starting to show, perhaps. Evans and Latamatos in particular haven't had a lot of time on the sideline this game. Sutaz as well, been doing a lot of work. Another big pull from Evans. Stopped by Greenfield to Davey. Colony just playing single coverage. As Chris Hill, Chile, looking for Stoddard deep. Hodgson in hot pursuit. Tempts the greatest, but can't keep it in. And here's an opportunity for Colony D-line. They've got the turn they want. They're going to have to take it the full length of the field. If they want to get back into this game, this is the right opportunity to make it happen. They can start the D-roll now. Evans will pick up. Hodgson in the dump space. We've got Sutas isolated in the lane. Sutas immediately goes deep, and Evans immediately shoots to him. He's got plenty of separation. That's a great throw. And Sutas takes it on the chest, throws it in the air. Colony will be very happy with that one. That's a break. And this may be the turning point. As we see it again. Evans, very strong thrower. Launches his backhand. Undoubtedly one of the strongest throwers in the country.
Yeah, that was a superb put, superb run as well. We saw all the Colony players run on, congratulate. That lifted them. Could this be the turning point? Could this be what Colony needs in order to give them a kick in the pants so they can find the intensity they need, the extra legs to run this out?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you on your opinion. If you think this is it, you think if Colony's turned the corner now on their way back in, let us know in the chat. If you think I-Beam have got the composure, let us know. And the pull comes down. Chile with the disc. Oh, and a lot of contact there. But no call. They're happy to take it. Evans getting that turnover, going horizontal. Latamatos picks up. Sutas with the disc. Evans with the disc. Finds Neeld. 5 meters out. Latamatos right in front. Looks like we've got a call. And it's a foul. Dallywater got the big task of putting a mark on Neild. Hodgson gets the dump from Neild, but it just goes straight through their hands. Chris Hill has hustled to the end zone, but Davey is not going to deliver. And Chris Hill comes straight back under for a nice big gainer. His work rate's well known in the Australian Ultimate scene. Oh, and an opportunity for Revi. Putting a lot of pressure. And now Davey hits Stoddard. To Greenfield! Greenfield! A great grab from the veteran.
Gets the airtime to pull it down, give Newcastle the momentum again.
As we see it again, Stoddard with the disc to throw. Probably not exactly how he would have liked it to come out of the hand. But Greenfield does a great job, winds back the clock, and snags the one-handed grab. Comeback is on, according to Angela on the stream. Newcastle have other ideas, and they're getting close. A couple more is all they need to put this one in the record books. Colony not willing to roll over just yet. Standard O-line out there. Evans and Latamatos, I think, probably playing the last 4, 5, or even 6 points in a row now. Colony really shortening up their lines, limiting the rotation. Whereas I-beam, as they have all game long, rotating. There's a couple of faces that are out there often, but the whole squad getting involved. And I think we're seeing that in the fatigue being shown by the Colony lines. I-beam with the zone.
Work straight away.
And Evans with a scuba, just straight to ground. That's a cold drop at a crucial moment in the game. That is not what you expect from Mark Evans, a veteran, big moment player. Booth with the disc. Goes back to Dowdle. Immediately to Booth again, getting the swing to Sinclair. That's nice movement. Get it towards the break side. Sinclair finds Booth. Has Gray, doesn't want him. Dowdle cuts again. Petrov does what he's been doing all game and lays out. We may have a bit of discussion. It's a foul call. I'm not sure how Petrov feels about it. Looks like it'll be uncontested, actually. And Dowdle will bring it back in. Booth gets open. Throws the hammer. And finds his target. Who's immediately mobbed by a sea of green and brown. Oh, man.
They can feel it inside. That was almost the way they came onto the ground then. That was the final point. We've still got one more point to play at the least, though.
But we saw there Liam Heather taking that goal. A player we haven't had to say much this game. Probably not in their starting 7. But the whole roster of I-beam contributing to what is looking like one of the biggest upsets we've seen all tournament. Conversely, at the other end of the field, same 7 almost, back out on the field. They're saying, we rely on each other. This 7 here is the 7 that we're going to ride all the way to the end if we have to. We've got Mitchell, Petrov, Latamatos, Neild, Francis, Evans, and Thomas. The absence of Spielman, I think, has played a crucial fact in this match. One extra set of fresh legs would have been huge for this Colony team.
Yes, I feel that it's probably appropriate looking at the two teams that I-beam goes through at this point in time. If I'm looking at Colony Plunder and being honest, at this point in time, they don't look like a team that would make it much further in this competition. Whereas it looks like Newcastle have the legs and can do that.
Yeah, and right now, I'd say they have the fire as well.
Yes.
I feel like Colony hasn't been able to really fire up and find that next notch of intensity as a big crossfield hammer goes up and gets retrieved by Petrov. I-beam playing a zone. A little pommy by the look of it. Trying to hold Colony on this near sideline. Got plenty of height in and around the disc, in the cup and on the mark. Latamatos directing traffic. Very calm, happy to hold on to it and wait for the spaces to open up. Got a double team call, it'll be a quick disagreement. Having some detailed discussion about a double team. Doesn't happen often. Not usually something worth stopping the whole game for, but at 14-9 in the quarterfinal, it happens. Latamatos brings it back in, gets it moving. Mitchell and Latamatos happy to take these 1-2 meter little jinky passes.
It looks like they want to take these all day long.
And that might be the opportunity there. They get through the wall. Latamatos immediately picks up the pace, wanting to get it moving, but
it's going to be hard for them to give those 1-2s now. They just proved me wrong.
The shout comes to get it off the sideline, which I think is the right idea. Getting trapped on a sideline in a puppy fence situation is never a good time for an offense. Dumps it to Mitchell. Mitchell swings to Evans. Evans had Francis, but decides to hold on to it. Instead, goes to Mitchell. Fakes over the top. Goes to Evans. Evans maybe a little bit reluctant to throw the over the top after his throwaway on the scuba last point. Instead, really waiting for something to open up. Very static downfield. No one's moving. Thomas, Petrov, standing in the back corners of the end zone. Francis and Neild not offering a lot, to be honest. Neild may have heard us because he started running. And we'll get the around from Latamatos. Immediately finds Francis through the center. Francis finds Evans on the far sideline. And finally they start to look dangerous. And then the cup clamps down and things slow up again. Mitchell finds Francis behind. Francis looking for the swing. Gets it to Petrov. We've seen some of the personnel move around. Some of the deeps come into the handler space. And it's paying off as they approach the end zone. Thomas now about 5 meters out. Evans. Scuba shows he's not afraid to throw them. Latamatos goes to Mitchell, gets it immediately back, gains a meter. Goes to Mitchell. This is incredible patience by the Colony and an incredible work rate by I-beam, making them throw a lot of passes. And while every single pass here has been pretty safe so far, you'd have to say that eventually they will be rewarded. Oh, and Thomas.
Just on the last.
They've been so patient for so long and maybe forces the last one. He goes to the high release backhand over the top, and even Petrov, who's known for his leaping ability, can't get up for it. And Davey calls the timeout. I think I-beam are exhausted after that long defensive stand. And Colony look devastated after all that hard work doesn't pay off.
Nothing else, very mentally exhausted. Petrov on the ground showing his emotions.
Lots of heads down, shoulders slumped. Oh, and apologies, that was the goal and that was the game. Was it? They're shaking hands. No, it's a timeout. Good. I-beam will bring the disc back in at the front of their end zone. They'll have to work at the full 80 yards to score the final point.
Yeah, that looked a bit confusing from the sideline. Apologies from the commentary box.
Yeah, both teams were shaking hands for a moment there.
I was definitely in the same headset myself. What's going on here?
Been a request for a shout out for number 29. Right now I can't see a 29, so I'm not sure which team you're talking about, but probably Newcastle. I think it might be Djordjevic. Or is it Colony? We'll see if he gets the disc, and if he does, we'll let you know. All right, Phil, what do you say to your I-beam team now? They're on the verge, but they're going to have to go the full distance.
Look, if I was I-beam, I wouldn't really worry about control like Colony have to at this point in time. Play your natural game, send it long, make them work that up the field again. Even if they score this one, you'll be on offense next time.
All right, natural game from I-beam. Loose and free. Colony, on the other hand, obviously, high stakes for them. They can't let this be a goal or the game is over, and their Nationals' hopes with it. Evans choosing the matchups for his teams. Puts himself on Stoddard. Saying, this is a matchup we need to shut down. Petrov has the task of matching up on Booth. Booth obviously will be working hard to get a lot of the disc, but Davey shoots to Stoddard. Evans in hot pursuit. The disc is getting caught by the wind and will go out the far sideline.
It looked like a definite shoulder out there.
It's a bit of a call, but the disc did end up well out the sideline, so it may not matter.
Realising it wasn't going to affect anything, just gives them an ugly look.
And Colony get another opportunity to keep the game alive. Evans will pick up. I-beam back in their zone. We'll see if Colony can throw another 150 passes and work it up. Stoddard in the deep space. Francis hanging very deep. And Evans immediately cracks it open with a hammer, but Davey elevates over Petrov. And Newcastle have it now on halfway. They're 30 metres from a semi-final berth. And he shoots. Stoddard wide open. And Newcastle I-beam are going to the semi-finals. Colony look devastated. They look absolutely flattened. No energy, no emotion. They just look empty. I-beam obviously ecstatic. If you told me 3 days ago that I-beam would be going to the semis, I wouldn't have believed you, Phil.
Yeah, very underrated team, I think. But also, as I said earlier, I think yesterday's games really took a lot out of Plunder. And they came out flat. They've stayed flat pretty much throughout this game. I would struggle to see them go further in this competition had they won this game right now. I wouldn't have seen them. I wouldn't have picked them to win their semi to go further. But Newcastle I-beam, congratulations, well done. Showed true grit throughout that, and the dedication, the passion to want this game, to win it. Their legs obviously are a lot fresher at the end of the day also.
Absolutely. So just to confirm again, Newcastle will be heading into the semi-final and Plunder down into the 5-to-8 bracket. Do stay tuned. We've got the women's semis coming up next. It'll be Factory against Ellipsis. So we'll take a quick break, but come back and join us then for what is sure to be a cracking game.